Morning, everyone. Welcome to Hayle Business Week 2025. My name's Julie Baldwin, if you haven't met me before, and I am Engagement Manager for Hayle Town Council. And this webinar is the first of a series of events over this week for Hayle Business Week. Hayle Town Council run Hayle Business Week to support our local businesses, and we're always more than happy to receive sort of ideas for things that we can run to support our local organisations and businesses. So before I hand over to Kirsty Miles-Musgrave from the Growth Hub, just a little bit of housekeeping. If I can ask you to keep your microphones on silent while Kirsty's talking, feel free to add any questions to the chat. And like I said, we're recording so that we can share afterwards with a couple of people that can't make it. So without further ado, I'll welcome Kirsty.
Thanks, Julie, and thank you everybody for joining us on a Monday morning. I know it's sometimes a challenge to jump on something like this for a Monday morning, so hopefully it's a positive start to what I hope will be a fantastic Hayle Business Week. So as Julie said, my name is Kirsty Miles-Musgrave and I'm the Investment Operations Manager at the Growth Hub. Now I'm hoping that most, if not all, of the people on the call will have heard of the Growth Hub before. Some of you may have even engaged with us in the past. So I'm just going to basically take you through a little bit about what the Growth Hub is. And then I will also just make sure that you're all aware that we currently have a grant scheme that is open. I know I shared that information with Julie in advance because it launched a couple of weeks ago, but I thought I'd just let you know some of the details just in case anyone was thinking about applying or was currently applying and needed any more information. And so we'll talk about that as well. So first of all, what is the Growth Hub? We are a business support organisation. We have been running for 9 years now, or coming up to 9 years. And we specifically are set up to help businesses in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Currently, we are funded by the Good Growth Programme or the Good Growth Fund. You may have heard of either of those titles. That is the local delivery of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So you may have heard of the UK Share Prosperity Fund. It was a national scheme under the previous government, and that launched in 2023. And we have been funded through that for the last 2 years. And in December last year, the current government confirmed that there was some additional funding coming online. So we have a year's sort of top-up funding for the UK Share Prosperity Fund. So I'm delighted to say that the Growth Hub will continue for at least another year. And part of that has also enabled us to launch another grant scheme as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail later. So just to clarify, we are publicly funded. We are a project of Cornwall Council, and our funding comes through the UK Share Prosperity Fund, and the local delivery of that is called the Good Growth Programme. So what is the Growth Hub? In essence, we are a signposting organisation. So what we do is we talk to businesses about their growth ambitions, and then we go away and do the research to find out if there's any support, training, advice, guidance that you can take advantage of. We are fully funded, so what that means is there's no charge to the business. So there's no cost to taking part and taking advantage of the Growth Hub service. And also we don't signpost or refer to any paid support either. So we're not going to hand you over to someone who's going to charge you money for services. So what that means is we can talk to any businesses and organisations. So I think someone mentioned the Cinnamon Trust is on the call. So we can talk to businesses, sole traders, self-employed people. We can talk to charities. We can talk to social enterprises, social community interest companies. If you're an organisation that is delivering sort of economic activity or trading in some way, then we can help you through that. So what we do is we talk to businesses about their challenges and their ambitions, their opportunities, and then, as I said, we go away and take the hassle out of doing that research for you. And then what we do is hand you over and signpost you to organisations that hopefully will be able to help. We do that predominantly through business support. So you can see here there are some just a flavour of the areas that we can help businesses with, and we can talk to businesses about. Some of you may have already taken advantage of some of the business support that was commissioned alongside the Growth Hub under the Good Growth Programme, and they fitted into some of these areas here. A lot of that support has now finished because we were all commissioned to the end of March of this year. However, again, I'm delighted to say that the Good Growth Programme is recommissioning some more business support for another year within Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. That's still going through a contracting process at the moment, so we're not able to confirm any of that. Sorry, let me just get rid of that. We're not able to confirm any of that, but what we will be able to do is come back out to you very, very soon to confirm what that looks like. However, that doesn't mean that there isn't any support available to Cornwall at the moment. So what we do is we look regionally and nationally as well. And examples of that might be that you might be aware that high street banks offer some support to businesses. You may not be aware, for instance, that you don't have to be a member of that bank. You don't have to be a client of that bank to necessarily take advantage of some of that. So we're not just talking about the big national schemes like Innovate UK or Help to Grow, which is a national government scheme, although we will be able to look at those. But it's all those sort of pockets of sometimes time-limited support that you may not be aware of because you're busy running your business. And actually what we do is we do all the legwork for you to find out some specific and targeted, but also general support that might be available. And we do that through a business review, which I'll talk about in a minute. So I just wanted to let you know that we are still here. We will be open all the way through. I know some business support projects have closed, and hopefully some of those will reopen. But the main message today really is that we are still here to support. We are still here to talk to you, and we want very much to talk to you about what your growth ambitions are as in your business. Let me see if I can. It doesn't want me to move on where we are. There we go. So as I said, we do that through a free business review. This is the lovely Jessica. This is one of our connectors who will be able to talk to you. We do this through online video call, so no traveling involved, and we can do that around your convenience. So we can book that in for your convenience. And it's on this telephone, on this Teams call, that we will have a chat. We call it a business review. It's really a conversation about helping us understand where you are now in your business, where you want to go, where you want to take it in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever that looks like for you. And then, as I said, we will go away and do that research to find the support and the training and the advice and guidance that will help you. So we can also look at training as well in that business review. So some of you may remember that there was a skills hub under the European funding that we had previously in Cornwall. When we moved to our new Share Prosperity funding, we actually merged the two projects to actually make it even more simple, streamlined, front door approach to businesses. So we can also look at your training needs for yourself and also your team if you employ your team. And we can look at the skills you need now and in the future to help your business thrive. You may be aware that there are over 150 training providers just in Cornwall alone. That's without looking at regional and national providers. And we are very, very aware and conscious that businesses just don't have the time to visit 25 different websites and look at and call 5 different organisations or training providers to find out maybe if they can take advantage of that support. So that's what we're there with. We're there to take the hassle out of that. And so it's very easy to engage with us. We can book you in, as I said, at a time that suits you. And then we go away and do the research to find out what support you can take advantage of. So I said I'm going to talk a little bit about the grants as well today. So I'm hoping that you had some information through already on this. So we've gone out far and wide. We launched this at the end of January. And the deadline, which I'll confirm later on as well, is actually Thursday of this week. So I wanted to just make sure that you were aware that the grants were open. And some more information about that as well, just in case it's relevant for your business or for your business community. So you can also hand this over. We did have a business grant scheme previously that launched in 2023. This is a very similar scheme, but there are some key differences. So we are open to any business legal entity, and for the purposes of this grant, we include sole traders and self-employed people as a legal entity. We can also, again, I mentioned about social enterprises, community interest companies, and charities that have a trading or commercial element to them. We can talk to all of those businesses about these grants. But this time around, we do have a priority sectors, and they have been identified by the Good Growth Plan. So you may be aware of that. I can send links to that if you'd like to go and have a look. but that is been identified by Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly about some of the growth priorities that they want to support. And within that plan, they've identified some distinctive sectors and also some core sectors that are a priority for support. So the distinctive sectors are critical minerals, renewable energy, space and aerospace, including data, and also marine. And so therefore priority will be given to projects from those sectors and also from the supply chain for those distinctive sectors. So if you are a business and you can evidence and explain how you are a supply chain to one of those 4 distinctive sectors, you will also be given priority. And then also priority is given to some of the core sectors within Cornwall, which is the visitor economy, agri-food and creative industries. And under creative and cultural industries, we're talking about strong emphasis on digital and technology. And what we mean by that is you might be a digital and technology business within the creative or cultural industries, or you might be a creative or cultural organisation that's looking to take advantage of digital or tech through the grant that you're looking for, through the project you're looking to deliver. So those will be given priority. That's not to say that it's not worth putting in a project. If you have a really strong project that will have a huge impact on your organisation and will be able to deliver key economic impact in Cornwall, not just for your business, but across Cornwall as well, and that's definitely something worth putting in there. So the business grants, this time, again, one of the key changes is the minimum grant starts at £20,000. That is higher than the previous scheme. And that is partly because we don't have a lot of time to deliver this, but also we're looking for that economic impact. So therefore, the larger sized projects that can be delivered, therefore deliver the greater economic impact. So the minimum grant ask will be £20,000 and the maximum will be £200,000. And I mentioned about the economic impact through outcomes. And these are some of these are the outcomes that one or more of which you are going to be asked to commit to by delivering your project. So we talked about economic impact. So we're talking about new jobs here or safeguarding existing jobs. You might be looking to bring on new technology or processes within your business, or you might be looking to launch a new product or service. Or you might actually be looking to do some net zero, some sustainability activity that will reduce your carbon dioxide emissions. So contribute to Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly's ambition to be net zero. That you might be able to contribute to one or more of these outcomes. But this is what you're going to be asked to if you're going to put in an application. Some key criteria. So very much like previous projects and previous schemes, we're asking for 50% match funding. So we're looking for those businesses who are willing and ambitious to invest in their own growth. So we will match your own investments. So an example of that would be if your total project cost is £64,000, you can ask for a maximum of £32,000, and therefore the minimum match funding that you would need to provide would be £32,000. Just to clarify, you can see at the bottom there, the minimum grant value is £20,000. So therefore, the minimum project value that you would need to bring forward is £40,000. There are 2 slight caveats to that. If you are a startup business within one of those 4 key distinctive sectors, there might be an opportunity to ask for a higher, what we call intervention rate. So you might be able to apply for more than 50% grant, but that's not all startup businesses. That's only startup businesses that fall within those 4 distinctive sectors. So critical minerals, renewable energy, data, space and aerospace, and marine. And you will also need a strong business plan to go aside with that. And the other thing you need to be bearing in mind is that businesses will need to be able to cash flow the costs of the project, because these are paid in arrears. So we pay what we mean by that is it's retrospective. So you have your grant offer letter. So you would need to spend the money of your project and then evidence that you spent that, and then you claim those costs back. You are able to negotiate some staged payments. So using that £64,000 as total project cost, we realise that's a very large amount of money for a business to cash flow. So therefore, there could be negotiated staged payments. So you might spend £20,000 of that, evidence that spend, claim that £10,000 back, and so on and so forth through your grant project, just to help with that cash flow situation. Some other key issues or key criteria are that you will need to be based in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly to be eligible, and also the supported activity must take place in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly as well. If you are looking for maybe a capital project, you might be looking for building an extension, or you might be looking to a new build. All permissions and consents would need to be in place, or at the very least applied for, and that relates to the timescales of the scheme. We do not have time for people to then put in and wait for applications for planning. And also adequate lease consents, landlord consents in place at the point of submission, and you'd need to evidence that. You can see on the bottom right there some very tight timescales. These are handed down by central government, so they are not our timescales. All the money has to be claimed and then paid out by the end of March. And to be able to do that, we're asking for businesses to be able to deliver their project by the end of December of this year. Now, bearing in mind, we will not be issuing contracts for this until April, and it may move into May or even the beginning of June for some projects. So therefore, we're really looking for projects that can be delivered within 6 to 9 months maximum. So that's something to consider as well, particularly if you're ordering, for instance, a bit of machinery, a bit of kit that has a long lead time. Then you need to take that into account. You will need an appropriate business bank account, and that's the bank account that you will demonstrate where the spend has come out of. Just to confirm that much funding is in place or secured. So, for instance, if you were going for a commercial bank loan, you could have an offer letter in place, and you could use that as evidence. And we will need full accounts available. If your accounts are older than 12 months, then we will also look at management accounts. For new businesses, we recognise that accounts aren't going to be available. So again, we're going to be looking for that robust business plan to be in place. The other key area here is about the real living wage. So as I said, we are a commissioned project of the Good Growth programme, and part of that idea about good growth is about sustainability and in improving businesses' responsibility and in sustainability, and also in social aspect as well. So really leveraging this public money to have the greatest impact for all communities in Cornwall. And so therefore, anyone applying for grants will need to be able to demonstrate that they are currently paying all of their staff the real living wage, or will be able to prove that they are doing so by the time that they put their final claim in. And so therefore, businesses, particularly in the hospitality and retail sector, that might have an impact. You might currently have staff on the minimum wage. And so therefore, you can see we've done a bit of a calculation, so you can see the impact that has. So the minimum wage in April goes up to £12.21, and the current real living wage is £12.60. So you can see there that there is an impact. There will be an impact on bottom line if you do not already currently pay the real living wage. Then very quickly, what we cannot fund is just as important as what we can. So we cannot fund business as usual activity, sort of repairs, renewals, what we call new for old. So if you're looking for applying for grant funding for activity that is just basically how you need to run your business, unfortunately that is not eligible. We're looking for something new, something better, something improved. Obviously, we're looking for businesses who are making a step change and are going for that growth ambition. You cannot spend any money already, so you cannot claim it back in terms of having money already spent. And also contractual commitments as well. And the assumption there is that if you had already paid some money out or made a contractual commitment to a project, then the assumption is that there would already be money in place and funding for that. And so therefore, it's difficult to demonstrate the need for grant. We cannot pay wages and salaries. The slight caveat to that is if you are looking to deliver a research and development project within your business, and you need some of your existing staff to work sort of very in depth on this project, and so therefore they'll not be working on your sort of business as usual service or products, then we might be able to negotiate a higher intervention rate there as well. So again, it might be that we can talk to you about a higher than 50% grant rate, but that is only for research and development and innovation projects. And then we talked about what we cannot fund. What is not a priority in this round is vehicles. And what we mean by that are cars and vans, and we include electric vehicles in that. We're not talking about plant machinery. So we're not talking about forklift trucks that are used on site and things like that. And also, even though the visitor economy is a core sector for priority, we're not looking to fund new or upgrades of existing bed space. So if you are a visitor economy business, we're looking for maybe extending the season. So something around that would help you extend your season into the shoulder months and improve things like wage earnings and things and projects along those lines. So how do you apply? It's an online application. As I said, that is now available now on that link. And I can post the link in the chat later on in a minute. There is guidance available. I cannot stress more enough that if you are already started an application or you're planning to start an application, please read the guidance. You can download that by clicking on the link through to the application form. And there is direct read across. So if you're looking at question 1A, there will be guidance for question 1A. And the vast majority of your questions will be answered by that guidance. You can also download a sample application form, so you can have a look in advance about what the questions are. Once you've put your name and an email address in, you will be emailed a link, so you can actually save your application part completed, come away and come back again. I would recommend doing a lot of preparation offline and then potentially copying and pasting into that application, because as you move from section to section, it will automatically save. But if you have a technical problem, if you have a power cut or you lose connection in the middle of a section, unfortunately, that will not be saved. So it's always useful to have that offline. The grant facilitation team are available on the Growth Hub website via web chat today, tomorrow and Wednesday, and between 1 and 4. So if you decide to put in an application and you have some questions, you can jump on to the web chat and ask your questions. And then just to underline, the deadline is 5 p.m. Thursday the 27th. So that's this Thursday. So hence why I was just wanted to go through that information, just so you did make sure that you have all the information you need. The other added value that we're looking to do from a business support point of view is actually give you access to training, events, workshops. They are collated on our website for you. And there are a huge number of events available on our website. And so therefore, please do jump on and have a look. Some of them are geographic, some of them are face-to-face, some of them are online. But essentially what we're trying to do is help you access that information in one place. So please do jump online and have a look at that on our events calendar. And then the other way to do that is actually to sign up to our newsletter. So we issue a regular newsletter that shares news, events, training opportunities. It's also the main way that we will be telling people about things like new finance, new funding, new business support. You've got a QR code there that you can screenshot now and jump on. And if you haven't already subscribed to the newsletter, I would highly recommend you do so. It falls into your inbox. You don't have to do any of the legwork to visit our website. And what it will do is just making sure that you are kept up to date as much as possible with any new opportunities that are coming along to help businesses in their growth. The final thing that I wanted to say was about that word growth. So we are very clear that not everybody wants to be Richard Branson, not everybody wants to triple their turnover and move into larger premises, employ lots of people. Growth means different things to different people. And we're more than happy to talk about what that means to you. So sometimes people are actually, they're working 70, 80, 90 hours a week, and actually they want to work less and be more efficient and productive. So they want to increase that bottom line, but actually are fairly happy with the size and shape of their business at the moment. And that's absolutely fine. So if you're looking to improve your business in some way, take it to the next step, whatever that next step means for you, for your business and for your family, we're here to help you on that business growth journey. So what can you do to sign up? That was a little link, but I probably haven't shared the volume on the Zoom, so I won't play that for now. I can always go back and play that later. But how to get in touch with us? So you've got another little QR code there that will take you straight to our contact page. You can jump onto the website and fill that contact page in. That tells us about your business form, gives us some information about your business, and then we will ring you back. Or we are also available between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. on weekdays, and you can give us a call. Our telephone number is also on the website, and then you can book straight in to book your business review with us and get on that journey to accessing that business support that can help you with your growth ambitions. So I think that's it for my formal slides. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I think there was some things jumping into the chat as we went through, so maybe we can go through some of those, or if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Yeah, if anyone wants to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself and yeah, ask away or pop it into the chat. Don't know if anyone.
Julie, you've shared the grant chat. Brilliant, thank you.
Hopefully that was the right link. I do have a question. Just I know you mentioned that there'll be other support available. I should mention to everyone, I used to work for a couple of the business support programs in Cornwall before I worked for Hayle Town Council, and I'm obviously aware that the funding has come through to Cornwall Council and then to the Growth Hub quite quickly. And it's got to be spent quite quickly. Can you give any idea of timescales for that extra support from the other projects?
All indications are that it will be up and running in April.
Okay. So
we haven't got a long time to wait, and there is some support still available, but obviously, as you all know, Julie, when you have a funded project, the last sort of like six weeks or so tends to be ramping down and wrapping up the project. However, we are hopeful that certainly from a Growth Hub point of view, we will continue through. And what we plan to do is over the next few weeks, if people come to us with a need that we think might be able to be fulfilled through projects or business support that's coming online, we will be able to note that down. But what I would say is we will be sharing all of that information about the new support via the newsletter. So that is why I would highly recommend, you can unsubscribe at any time, but I would highly recommend signing up to the newsletter because actually that will fall into your inbox.
The stuff that's in that newsletter is actually really useful. You're a gateway really for all the opportunities for business support. That's why it's so important that you're around really.
That's kind of good to say. We are actually there's growth hubs across the country, so we are still at the moment we are a central government initiative. So we are funded by Shared Prosperity Fund down here, but across England there are growth hubs in every area. And the government the current government, even though we were a Conservative government initiative, the current government is also recognising that benefit. And I would say, so we also get communications from the government departments about new information. So it's not just about locally commissioned support, although that is fantastic. We're also the sort of the conduit really for all of that messaging, and the other way up. So during COVID, growth hubs were vital in actually feeding some of that intelligence from the local areas back up to central government, and that helped to form some of the initiatives around the COVID response and recovery. So it is, hopefully we're fulfilling that service. The other thing I wanted to say about the Growth Hub website, which wasn't in the presentation, is actually you can sign up to have an account on the Growth Hub website. You can share your own news and events on there, which we can then feature in the newsletter. You can have a business directory listing. So that is a free offer. It's a bit sort of like a Yellow Pages for those of you who are old enough to remember the Yellow Pages. So that's a free business directory listing on our site, which if our SEO is incredibly good, so it's just another route to market to help people find your business. And also, if you have any events that you'd like to share, you can upload those as well. So that's just again an added value of the Growth Hub offer.
We added these to the directory, which is it's always really helpful to just try and hit people in different ways. So Tim had a question in the chat. Why you do not support salaries and wages in the context of the spend minimum 40,000? Does that mean none of that can be used to pay contractors?
No. So when we mean by salaries and wages is that is employees of your organisation or your business. So it absolutely can be, and you follow that up with a question about capital spend. No, we can fund revenue as well. So if you have got third parties coming in, agencies, consultants, contractors, any of the above can be funded through the grant. What we cannot do is pay the wages of your employees. Hopefully that helps to answer the question for Tim.
We've got a question from Jenny.
The last programme, I had a couple of projects in for different entities, and it was a really great grant programme, but we only got a sort of confirmation proceed really quite late in the year. And I know I can understand that maybe you had committed to some and then the projects didn't come off. But do you think you'll be saying, is that going to happen again? Do you think this year or not? Because suddenly, like in August, September, you're like, oh my gosh, go, and you've got to get this all done by January. It made it quite tight and stressful.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely say if you've got projects now that you think that you are relevant, absolutely put in an application, because it is, unfortunately, Jenny, it is like that. How long is a piece of string? In terms of if we expect to fully commit the funding in this funding round. If there is any money left, we will come back out immediately to say, okay, there's a bit of funding left for maybe shorter term projects. But unfortunately, as I'm sure you're aware, the deadlines are the deadlines. And even though you may well have put out grant offer letters, businesses' situations and their sort of circumstances change. So what we had in the last grant scheme is people were absolutely good to go. They got their grant offer letter, and then for whatever reason, their circumstances changed and they were unable to complete the project, or costs came in less. That often happens. I know it doesn't seem like it at the moment, but people's costs are less than their grants. And so we had earmarked that value of money for their grant, and then they only spend 50% of it. So we obviously want that money to go back out to business. So I recognise it's incredibly frustrating. It's frustrating for us as well that these timescales always seem to be so tight. But there is absolutely no guarantee that more money will be available through this scheme later on in the year. So I would absolutely recommend putting in an application now if you have one.
Oh yeah, no, I will do that. I suppose it was for the two projects that I was involved in. We didn't really get an answer yes or no. We just had no response at all. And then suddenly in August for one, and I think September for the other one, they're like, oh, we can now fund your project. And suddenly like, oh, okay then. So it would have been just as some feedback. It would have been helpful to have some letters say in April saying you haven't made like the current list, but we like your project and we'll be in touch if things happen, because I might have got myself a little bit more prepared just in case it happened. Whereas suddenly just a letter saying, oh, actually you've been invited, you can do it now, you need to get, and I think I had to put in the full application. I had like something like 10 working days to get like quotes, etc. Whereas I could have done that prior. It wouldn't have been such a big rush. So that would be my it's great if you are fully committed and more on the things, but I think for those people who don't quite make the cut, I think it would be good to give them the heads up. They might be successful, but later on in the year, because that would be that would have helped us a lot, because I still could have been working on the grant. It still would have been a good thing to do, but as it was, I just sort of parked it and then suddenly had to rush it, and that make it problematic then actually managing it, because we'd had to get quotes extremely quickly, where we've probably not as much thought and time put into it as we would otherwise have done. And then there was quite a delay then on getting the final yes, like several weeks, and I was saying, we rushed it, we need an answer from you now to get the contractors on site, and it didn't cut. It was still a bit delayed, and I know you will be aware of time pressures, but then I made it even more stressful. And so I think it'd be good, like maybe let people know you haven't been successful yet, but you might be, and then you could give them some advice to say, look, here's the application if you want to familiarize yourself with the full application form. And then if I hadn't had that, I probably would have prepped it, so I just could have pressed go with a push of a button.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that feedback, thank you for that, Jenny. That's really valid and helpful feedback, and I think that is one of the reasons why we've done it differently this time around. So we've done a fixed term call. So last time we basically were just open, and projects came through as they came through, and we closed the projects once we had the fully committed. What that meant was the flow of information was quite difficult, and it was very difficult to judge sort of timescales and how long things would take. So I think that's one of the reasons why we've gone for full application. We put the application form out there so people can see it and actually know what it is that they're applying for beforehand, and decide not to. So often people look at that application form and go, do you know what, it's not for me. And hence why in the presentation as well, we are aiming to contract successful people as soon as humanly possible. We're unable to contract anyone until April anyway, because that's when this funding sort of kicks in. but we've gone live now, so we can do as much preparatory work as possible to then be ready to start to contract grants in April. But the reality is the number of grants that we're dealing with in a short space of time means that not everybody's going to get contracted in April. That's why I'm talking about May or even potentially June. So we're trying to be really honest this time around. Not that we were dishonest, but we were just trying to be transparent. We learned a lot through the first one, and just say, actually, so it could be that you've got 6 months to deliver the project if you don't get contracted until June. So, but we hear what you're saying, Jenny, and we've had that. You're not the only one to have fed that back, so thank you.
Can I ask a question just about it? It's just thinking a long way ahead. So from a town council perspective, we're also, we apply for funding as well for projects. So we appreciate the timescales which are passed to you from central government. And you mentioned that that you are in touch with them about the kind of support that's on offer around the country. Do you have the opportunity to feedback about what might replace SPF funding next year? Will the Growth Hub be involved in any talks around that?
We are part of the Growth Hub network. So there are 49, I think, Growth Hubs across the country, and that network is sort of run by the Department for Business and Trade. So they meet on a monthly basis to feed back exactly those kinds of things. So one of the things that we're saying very, very, very strongly from Cornwall, but also across the country, is this short-term jumping, like lurching from one funding round to the next, is not helpful, is not conducive to business growth. And actually some longer-term settlements would be much more useful. So it's those kinds of things that we're feeding back up, and the kinds of areas that we suggest people look at. But obviously we're going to be talking about Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, and that's very different to what Manchester looks like, or what Norwich looks like, for instance. So it is trying to have that balance. What is coming through central government at the moment, though, is their recognition of the need to support small business. And that's a really positive feedback that we're getting. So they are working on things like small business strategies. They're looking to potentially launch a national small business or business growth service in the summer, which will be sort of trying to coordinate and curate what all the different offers that are currently being funded across government, sort of under one umbrella, which is a little bit like what the Growth Hub does on a local scale, but national scale. So that was probably a very long-winded answer to your question, but there is an opportunity, and we do that ourselves through the Growth Hub, but also Cornwall Council is a very strong voice feeding back up to national government as well, and things like the Cornwall Chamber of Commerce. And so we are all singing from the same hymn sheet, to use that tired expression, to make sure that our voices are heard centrally and nationally.
So I think the point that Jenny was making about these short timescales, it really impacts whether you're going to actually make an application and whether you can actually carry out the project.
Absolutely.
So is it worth people starting to gear up, do you think, for what might happen in 2026? To kind of get their business plans in place, to get, or is it?
I mean, my answer is always, you should do that anyway.
Yeah.
Any kind of support that is publicly funded is going to have due diligence and compliance requirements, and they are usually things like a robust business plan, clear sets of accounts, a demonstration that you know where you want to get to your business to go, and you might need some help to get there. And I think that's always useful anyway. So to have that, and when I say business plan, we're not talking about 500-page dusty tomes that sit on it can be 2 sides of A4 if that's useful. But it's always good to have that clarity for yourself within where you're trying to get to your business. And that's one of the things that, as a growth hub, we get a lot of feedback, is that obviously, hopefully, the support and the advice and guidance that they get as a result of talking to us and who we signpost and refer people onto is very useful. But just that conversation with an independent, impartial person, fresh eyes on the business, that opportunity to work on the business rather than in the business, is actually massively helpful. So even if that sort of hour's conversation with one of our team helps you clarify what it is you're trying to achieve, even that can be a very useful start. So if you're a business that it has started because you're passionate about something, you're passionate about a product or service, that's generally why businesses start, because people have a passion about something, whether they make something, whether they provide a service in something. And then the business sort of comes later on. And a lot of business people are not business experts. You know, none of us are accountants. Well, some of them you might be. But unless you're an accountant, you know, understanding how the nuts and bolts of running a business can be really challenging. And that's this kind of areas that we can help with to actually create a really solid foundation for your business. So then if there are opportunities coming down the line in terms of support or funding, you are in the best place possible to take advantage of that.
Thank you. Has anyone else got any more questions? No. Okay, well, we can finish that. Thank you so much, Kirsty, for your time. It's really appreciated. And I will send the recording out, or a link to the recording, to everybody so that you can pick up on those slides. I think it's worth just recapping that if anyone needs to have any more questions answered, the Growth Hub is available via web chat. Did you say that was today, tomorrow?
Yeah, so if you've got particular grants, so specifically if you've got grant questions, our grant facilitation team are online between 1 and 4 today, tomorrow and Wednesday, and then obviously the deadline being Thursday. But if you just generally want to talk to somebody about your business and your ambitions with your business, you can jump online and fill in one of our contact forms, or you can give us a call between 10 and 3 weekdays, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you.
There was a question from Tim. I do have one about the minimum wage. Is it still policy that all employees have to be on the real living wage?
It is policy, yes. If not now, then by the time of your final claim, which will probably be December, or potentially would be sort of sometime between December and March. So yes, that is a requirement of all good growth programme funding, not just ourselves. The other thing I should say as well is I'm aware that we probably have some third sector businesses on the call as well, that the Community Levelling Up programme is also live. So if you have a project that you're looking to get some funding towards that is much more community focused, and it's about that community impact rather than the sort of economic impact in terms of job creation, then the Community Levelling Up programme is also live. That closes on Friday. So I would highly recommend you have a look at that. I don't know whether, let me see if I can find that link for you, and I can put that in the chat. And also community, I'm going to try and talk and type at the same time, so bear with me.
Me too.
There's also the Community Capacity Fund as well. So that is helping organisations that might not have applied for funding before. They might not have put together the information that they need from that point of view. So that can help organisations put funding together, put a funding bid or project together. So that might be something that you might want to think about, that might be more useful. Here we go. Sorry, I know I'm conscious I'm rambling, but I'm just trying to find the link. Have you found it? Oh, there you go. See.
Yeah, I've got them in.
That's just, I can't multitask either. I can't do two things at once. So just to clarify, Community Capacity Fund is helping organisations put those projects together. So that's project development. That's not project delivery. So if you're an organisation that has an idea, you really want to deliver something, but you're not quite sure where to start, might need to bring in some third-party experts to help you. That is the Community Capacity Fund, and that's up to £25,000. And then the Community Levelling Up programme is the next step. So if you already have a project that's ready to go or that's developed, but you need some funding towards that, that's the Community Levelling Up programme. That starts at £25,000 up to £200,000. And the minimum, they need a minimum of 10% match funding. So again, that's different to ours. Obviously, we are funding a commercial entities. And so therefore, we're asking businesses and organisations to match fund that at 50%, whereas Community Levelling Up programme, because we're looking at community impacts, they are looking this time around, and I know that's different from last time, they're looking for a minimum of 10% match funding. So hopefully that's also useful for you guys as well.
Thank you. Okay, well, thanks ever so much for coming. And
thanks for having me, and good luck with the rest of your business week as well.
Yeah, so we've just a quick reminder, we've got a webinar tomorrow, well, an online workshop with Dynamo Healthcare Training, all about sustainable business strategy, which you can book onto. And we've also got a business networking breakfast on Friday at 8:30 at the Cove Cafe. And we've got Perrin Moon MP as the keynote speaker. So it's a really good opportunity to come along and ask some questions of him. And it's beautiful, and it's supposed to be nice weather. So, you know, if nothing else, come along for just sitting at the Cove because it's beautiful up there.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Lovely. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.